Hello out there. My name is Imperatordavius, and welcome back to another edition of Tactical Debates. Joining me today for this debate between TF2 and Overwatch is Bob and Randy. Hello, Randy. Hello, Bob. Nice to have you here on the show.
Thanks for having me.
What's up?
Alright, now before we actually begin this is just a disclaimer. This video is in no way, this is no way making fun of or disproving anything about the Game Theorist Overwatch v TF2 video. This is only bringing up some interesting facts about the video that they seem to have neglected to mention. And to help us out, I brought in two of my friends who are familiar with both games, speaking for different sides. Bob will be speaking for Overwatch's side, and Randy will be speaking for TF2's side. Alright, you two ready for this?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Alright, then let's get this started. Now, the first thing that we want to, might as well get this out of the way, is how the TF2 person represents TF2 says that TF2 has 0 hidden fees, and his opening argument for the video says that the game is free. Now, we both know that is not true at all. I mean, how much is there really a lot of hidden fees, or Bob and Randy? I mean, you're both somewhat experienced with your respective games, so is there any hidden fees?
For TF2, there is absolutely no content that is locked with fees. That there's leagues such as ESEA, which have a fee, but that is it. If you want to play the game casually, there's absolutely no fees necessary.
Alright.
I'll do a basic disagree on that. The MVM mode does have a fee involved. It is a very small fee, but in order to participate in MVM, you do have to pay money.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know what you're talking about, especially with Man Up mode for the reward.
There are free MVM servers, which are exactly the same Man Up mode. You just do not get any prizes at the end of the mission.
Yeah, but people who go through those tend to want to, something at the end of the day. But the other detail that he also neglected to mention, and he also did bring up in the video, microtransactions. I think that was the other thing that he also mentioned that he said TF2 did not have.
It does have microtransactions, but they're entirely optional.
And and Randy, since you're speaking for TF2 as well, or at least speaking for TF2, how would you say the microtransactions are? I mean, do you think they're like, I must pay this in order to fully experience the game, or would you say that someone casually could just, never once go into the microtransaction shop or something?
Casually, no. The player could never go into that and experience the full game. And I'd like to say that with the microtransactions, you can actually decide what you can get. You can either buy stuff from the Manco store, or you can buy something such as key and trade it for stuff that you want, rather than the only microtransactions, to my knowledge, in Overwatch is the cases, which is still just a chance.
Ah, yes, and that actually does bring up our next point, which they mentioned, the unboxing. Both games have it, but the TF2 representative talks like Overwatch only has skin unlocking by unboxing. He says the only way you can actually get those sweet legendary skins is by random chance, in which you have to unbox, like, say, 10 or 20 cases, and it's only a chance that you might get that skin you really want, but the rest of the time it's just a bunch of voice lines and such. Bob, since you're speaking for TF2, is this really true, or is there any other way you could possibly get those skins?
Well, it is all obtained through unboxing in the full meaning of it. You get boxes every time you level up, and you level up by playing. If you want to expedite your chance of getting something, you could spend money and buy extra boxes.
Aha.
I think they took the playbook from Valve's Dota 2 system.
So technically you can actually get stuff. You don't have to spend, like, say, $500 to get a bunch of boxes in order to get that one legendary skin. You can actually just play the game casually and work your way toward that skin, similarly to how TF2.
Especially since eventually you'll have enough to just buy it outright, because a lot of times the boxes either contain duplicates or contain just the in-game currency.
Oh, so there is an in-game currency, actually, that you can get just freely. I mean,
from the boxes, yes.
aha. So once again, nothing against game theory, but they seem to have neglected to mention a few facts in their mostly fact-driven video. All right. So the next topic that they mentioned about in the video, the kill-death ratios. Matt talks about kill-death ratios in Overwatch as not mattering because the Overwatch devs removed the kill-death ratio thing, or at least an emphasis on kill-death ratios to make it more driven about team play and coordinating to push objectives and such. While TF2 does have, and he says while TF2 does have team-driven elements, it includes things like kill-death ratios, rewards people for dominating people on the other team, and there's a motorcycle in the background. Curse that motorcycle. And it talks about how TF2 players care more about their kill-death ratios and are being inspired to getting more dominations, killing people specifically, and so on, than they are about the objectives. So, Randy, take it away.
Well, Imperator, let's just I can say one thing for this. If you check the scoreboard of any competitive match, do you know what the classes at the top of both teams is almost always going to be?
No, Randy. Pretend for a moment that I am just this random idiot coming into this topic for the first time. So
Okay.
why don't you tell us?
So, medics are almost always at the top of the scoreboard, no matter whether it be a pub or a competitive match or scrimmage. You are rewarded points for healing, not only kills. You're rewarded points for healing and assists, and it absolutely promotes team play. I think it's just ridiculous to say that just because there's kill and death stats in this game that it does not promote team play.
All right, Bob, you got anything to say about for Overwatch's side of the debate?
I would say that Overwatch suffers from the same problems that every first-person shooter does. There's always a couple of people going out there just trying to get kills, trying to look fancy, trying to look like they're the best. Every first-person shooter is going to have that. Overwatch, despite what Blizzard's try to do to make sure that people try to focus more on team gameplay, still suffers from the same stuff.
All right, so that's another point made for both sides, and just want to remind everyone, we are not saying which game is better or worse than the other. We're just here to talk about these, debate these points that weren't perhaps hashed out properly or portrayed properly in the Overwatch v TF2 video that game theorists made. Now let's move on to our next question. The skill ceiling. Matt Pat talks about the skill skill ceiling in Overwatch because of its huge, diverse class of characters. I believe the current roster is 22. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob.
I think it's 23.
Oh, 23. Maybe. Okay. So basically 23. With so many characters, you have to... He says that if you really want to play really well at Overwatch, you have to master more classes than just one, like it's in TF2. I believe he says. Maybe I'm wrong, but one thing he does neglect to talk about is TF2's skill ceiling and the various counters in Overwatch. Like, for example, there is a lot of skill ceiling in TF2. Like, you can't just pick up one class and instantly master it within, like, say, 2 days. But in Overwatch, you can just, like, say, even if you are a terrible Winston, but there's a Genji on the other team, you can pick up that Winston, and even if you're terrible at him, you can still do fairly well against that Genji, because technically Winston counters Genji as a hero in a straight 1v1 fight. So, started off with Bob. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Do you think there is a definite skill ceiling in TF2?
Well, TF2 has a different skill situation than what Overwatch does. Overwatch has set characters with set skills and set abilities, whereas TF2 does have a smaller roster. However, the rosters are more customizable with their specialized weapon sets. You can take certain classes that normally would only just fling out explosive projectiles and turn them into something completely different. So I think that adds a lot more variety to TF2's small roster compared to Overwatch's.
Alright, and Randy, since you're also speaking mostly for TF2, like, can you mention just to demonstrate to people out there your TF2 knowledge, can you, like, just list off, say, one class that has so many possibilities that you could play as? Like, just name one off the top of your head. Like, it doesn't have to be very specific, just name one.
Soldier.
Alright, so let's take our Soldier. So we all know Soldier, at least for those of us who know about TF2. He's a soldier, he's got a rocket launcher, he's got a shotgun, and he's got a shovel. Is that all there is to the Soldier?
Absolutely not. He's got many viable weapon choices, even at the highest level of the game.
Alright, so why don't you list one off? I mean, let's just say... I mean, we have two different... We're going to take, just to talk about this topic, we're going to take Pharah from Overwatch, who plays similarly to Soldier in TF2. They both have rocket launchers, but while Pharah is uncustomizable compared to TF2's Soldier, what is it that... What I'm basically getting at is... Pharah can only do a certain number of things, but you say that TF2 Soldier can do a lot more. Can you just list something off?
There's more playstyle opportunities for Soldier. There's, for say you use the shotgun, you're going to be considered a pocket, versus when you use the gunboats, the secondary, where you take less rocket jump damage, you are going to be much more mobile and better suited for flanking them. And also your mobility is increased because you take less from rocket jumps. So there's just...
So even though the Soldier, even though Soldier has a nice kit to work with from the beginning, he can actually change up what he does. He can go from being this just really slow walking rocket shooting person who does a lot of damage to being someone who rocket jumps. He explodes rockets at his feet and can actually move around even more faster and possibly catch people off guard. Is what you're saying, right, Randy?
Yes.
All right, that's very nice. All right, and that actually bring that thing about the different gameplay mechanics of the two games brings us into our next interesting topic. Matt does talk about the many characters compared to TF2's 9, but he also ignores how customizable they can become, resulting in so many different subclasses for increasingly variety of gameplay. I mean, we just talked about that the soldier with the gunboats. Bob, since you're talking for Overwatch's side, if you wanted to play a different style of Pharah, is there any way you could possibly play a different style of Pharah? Like, just lifts, if is it even physically possible?
The only difference would be your style of gameplay, not mechanics involved. You could, instead of trying to remain airborne entirely and rain rockets from the sky, you could try and be more land-based to come at different angles that they may not expect you from. But mechanic-wise, there's no change for any of the classes. They're set.
So in order to actually change your gameplay style, you would have to switch to a different hero, and thus your different play style entirely, correct?
Essentially.
Alright, that's something else that they seem to have forgotten to mention. I mean, for TF2, there's how many different playstyles of Demoman? I mean, how many playstyles of Demoman are there, Randy, that you can think of?
I mean, there's, I'd say two.
Two that you can list off the top of your head, right?
I mean, it's similar to Soldier. There's more like a roaming style Demoman, and there's more like a pocket style Demoman, but they're still going to be dealing out massive damage in the end, just with different playstyles.
And I'm also, if I remember correctly, there is also a style of Demoman that, while not as effective in competitive, but still adds a huge variety of gameplay for the Demoman. I believe it's referred to as the Demo Knight. Correct me if I'm wrong?
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, in which he equips a shield, he forsakes, like, say, a lot of explosive damage, but he can take less damage, and he can move around the field a little bit faster, and he, instead of using grenades and stuff, he instead uses a sword. So that does actually have a lot of gameplay variety for people who play Demoman. And even in the Demo Knight role, there's even more subclasses in which, because there's multiple shields that he can equip, correct?
Yes, but a lot of different playstyles are not really viable at the competitive level, that being one of them, but it's still at the
it's still
casual
something
level.
that he can do.
Yes, at the casual level, then you can do that.
Alright, moving on now. Let's move on because we're starting to run short on time. Matt talks about the diversity of Overwatch's characters, referring to how if you want to play as this robot cyborg ninja dude, you can. If you want to play a gorilla wielding a Tesla cannon, you can. If you want to play an old lady who shoots medicine into your neck, then you can. But he refers to TF2's modest collection of 9. He ignores, or he says that they are all mostly white male from around the world. I mean,
but they may all mostly be white males, but they're, like you said, from around the world. There's still variety. You can't only say that. You can't only base variety based on their gender and what their race is. I mean, there's people from the U.S., from the Demomans from Scotland, the snipers from Australia or New Zealand. If you follow
want to
the
get
comics.
that deep, yeah. If you want to get that deep, I mean, I think this
there's
is
even theories that the pyro is a female.
Let's leave that topic for another person. But I think this is something you both can agree on. In that is that because of when the game was made and based on the time period that the game is set in, I believe it's like the 1960s. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, that's correct.
But most people you would imagine like being in a quote unquote military unit, or in this case a mercenary unit, you would expect to be male, and most people who are, skilled enough to do such jobs would be considered white. Not saying anything, but th- considering where all these people come from, that is generally where you find these people. I mean, who would you search for to when you pick up these they're also based on various stereotypes. Who do you think of when you think of a Russian guy, such as the Heavy? You think of a white, muscular, very tall Russian man who looks like he could bench press 400 pounds. I mean, is correct? Am I right about that, both of you?
The TF2 characters are a lot of stereotypes, essentially. But the argument that one game might be better than the other just because of gender preferences or gender availability is pretty silly. It's ignoring the actual gameplay components, because that's the important part of the gameplay, not what your avatar looks like.
I fully agree with that. It, he's really, he's just grasping for straws at that point if he has to use
Bring out the
gender
racial
and
road.
race. Yeah.
Yeah, racial or gender or anything like that. It's really a big who cares. Is the game fun and enjoyable to play? Is it competitive? Is it challenging? Those are the things.
All right, now then we've got we looks like we're starting to run low on time. Let's get our next one and possibly our last topic to talk about for this particular debate. The person representing TF2 in the video talks about Overwatch being imbalanced because of these ultimates that, while fun, has the potential to break up or even potentially ruin the game because you use an ultimate. Say, let's take a Junkrat's ultimate. His mobile tire that, when you hear it, you know it's coming. You're looking frantic around. You don't know which direction it's going to come from because it can climb wall. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, but can the Junkrat tire climb walls?
Yes.
Okay, and when it comes in and you've only got a few seconds to properly aim and shoot at it before it's close enough and it explodes and potentially kills everyone around it. And is that, would you say that is imbalanced because of the ultimates?
I'm not going to say it's imbalanced because the game is designed around them, but it does often promote a great deal of people just not liking certain aspects of it because of that, where the common phrase is, "Oh, look, he pressed Q," and then the game system that highlights these kind of things, it's, "Oh, look how well that guy pressed Q." So I can understand that. Yeah, the ultimates can very easily turn people off because they're very powerful, and some of them build really quickly.
And you can't really counter them.
You can counter some of them, but typically it requires an ultimate from your side in order to counter them. Like a prime example would be like Genji's ultimate. He pulls out a sword and he kills people very, very, very fast. If you have a Zenyatta on your team and he uses his ultimate at the same time, anyone who's near him will not die from Genji.
All right, now, and just to go to TF2 side, he does talk about that, but he also neglects to mention the imbalance of weapons in TF2. So, can you talk about some, like, say, mention a weapon or two, Randy, that you would say is imbalanced?
Well, I'd like to point out before I say that
By all means, point it out.
are unbalanced, which there definitely are, but that's what sort of comes along with having so many weapons, or some are bound to be imbalanced, but there are whitelists at the highest level of play, but if you insist, I will say that there's weapons like the soda popper, which if you know how to use them, it's just pretty much a straight upgrade over the scattergun because the DPS is just higher than the scattergun.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I
And
think.
the beggar's bazooka for the soldiers also pretty imbalanced as well.
So basically, neither game is quote unquote perfectly balanced.
And I'd like to comment on the topic of ultimates and Overwatch. I feel that it just adds like an unnecessary element to the game that just kind of lowers the skill ceiling. I mean, there's ultimates that are aimbots. There's ultimates that don't really require that much skill. You just wait and they charge. There's wall hacks for I don't remember her name.
Widowmaker, I believe.
Widowmaker. And there's only one thing that you have to play around in TF2, which is the Uber charge. You don't have to worry about all. You don't have to worry about what the player. There's multiple players on the other team. They all have their own, like. You could compare them to Uber charges. I mean, but they're all on different timers due to how much damage they do and to how long they've been alive. It's just unnecessary. It's just unnecessary elements to the game that you have to dodge and plan around.
All right, well, I'm going to have to interrupt you there, Randy, because we are starting to run over our time limit. So we will come back to this topic in a while, perhaps. But for now, I believe we still have like 2 main topics to talk about. So we will come back to our debate next time. So everyone out there, be patient because this is Tactical Debate, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.